you would just zoom in on the camera controller, let's just kind of get a feel for what is here, okay? We're gonna start from the bottom and work our way up, all right, with this controller. You're gonna see that on the bottom of this controller, starting from the left, you see here it says preview. This is called your preview bus, okay? The preview bus is intended for you to be able to preview your next shot. All right, in most typical systems that don't have a multi-view screen, you would have a preview screen and a program screen. Okay, program being what everybody else gets to see, preview being what it is that you're gonna queue up for everyone else to see. So now in this preview, anytime I select a different camera with this preview bus, it also will automatically select that camera to be controlled by the joystick. Okay, so whenever I select camera 2 right here, it also selects it for joystick control. Okay, and you can affect those presets whenever the joystick has control. When it comes to operating with the joystick, if you push the joystick to the left, the camera will move to the left. To the right, it'll move to the right. When you go down, it will move the camera down, and up moves the camera up, okay? If you were an airline pilot, we could reverse the up and down, but most people would associate down with down. So anyways, up, down, left, and right, that's exactly the way the camera operates.
There are 6 previews.
That's because there are 6 video inputs, which means you have the potential of running up to 6 cameras with this system. Okay? We are taking up input number 6 with your Denon feed, so that we have, you know, we have the cable box input.
You would have one for the DVD as well? Or?
So that's why I selected to use the Denon to feed input number 6, because the Denon intercepts the DVD,
I gotcha.
the cable box, the PC, the VCR, everything. So that gives you the ability to incorporate that into this camera system. So this way, you know, you can use this during meetings or whatever and be able to queue it up instantly.
So you know 6 is any auxiliary.
Right, so 6 would be your auxiliary input at that point. And you will always see on this beautiful screen here what's going on input 6. Okay, so you see on the screen we have input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Let's say you preview 6. Does the joystick do nothing then when you touch it?
The joystick does nothing for 6.
Okay.
Because there is nothing to control on 6. Okay, going back to the joystick control. So obviously left goes left, right goes right, up is up, and down is down. That's all great and wonderful. If you want to zoom in and out, you have to twist the joystick. So to zoom out, you would twist it counterclockwise. To zoom in, you would twist it clockwise. So think of it as like tightening a screw or untightening. You know, if you want to come out, you want to go counterclockwise. If you want to go in, you twist it clockwise. Now with any of these directional controls, it all depends on how harshly are you touching the joystick. So if you touch it softly, it moves slow. If you touch it harshly, it moves quick. Okay? You can also, however, limit how fast the fastest setting is. Okay, and that is available right above the joystick. You will see there are 3 knobs that say pan speed, tilt speed, and zoom speed. And for those of you that don't know, pan means left and right, tilt means up and down. So just think of panning, you know, left and right, and then tilt, you know, what happens when you tilt yourself. You either see the floor or you see the ceiling, one or the other. So that's your pan, tilt, and your zoom. So you can affect the speeds and slow them down in general, you know, which may be a good idea, because if you go and touch that, you're going to make everybody nauseous if that's what's showing on the screen.
Well, that might be the intent.
And if that is the intent, then crank that sucker up. You know, so that's essentially it. So we're going over the preview bus, and we're going to the joystick control at that point.
Now I understand with these cameras they can go up and pan at the same time.
So yeah, so if you go and you hit a diagonal direction,
That's
it
nice.
pans and tilts at the same time.
Great.
Okay.
So that is the key feature of this newer camera.
You spent how many hundreds of dollars for that feature?
You actually spent less.
Ah, I gotcha. Thank you.
So anyways, just to nip that one in the bud.
I gave you that opportunity.
All right. So anywho, again, that's your preview bus and your joystick control. Okay.
We had a question of Frank, I asked him, what's a button on the top too?
On the top of the
Yeah, there's a button.
You fire rockets.
what that does is it actually brings the camera back to the home position. So the home position is straight ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
The home position or the preset position?
No, that's a home position.
That's a
That's a
home position.
factory home position for the camera.
Okay.
Okay, that's probably going to only be good on camera number 3 because camera number 3 is in the center of the back of the room.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know, where the other 2 cameras, if they go and center themselves, then they're just looking at the opposite side of the room.
Right.
So it's probably not the most useful shot, but I guess you could consider that a free preset
Okay.
given to you from the factory.
There you go.
So, yeah, that's what that button in the middle of it does. Good question, though, by the way. So anyways, the program bus above is what's actually to be shown on the side screens or to be recorded or sent out via Skype or whatever, and we'll get into that stuff later. But the program bus is what everybody else gets to see. The preview bus is what you're trying to preview before you send it to everyone else. The other thing that is something that you should really keep in mind is you should not have to follow a lot of people. You have very large side screens. And one of the reasons is because we could, and the other reason is because, you know, the fact of the matter is you don't want to zoom in too tightly on anybody with these cameras. You want to give them room to move within the screen. Okay, because if you zoom in too tightly, all they got to do is just one step over to the left or right, and suddenly they're gone. Okay, so you want to be zoomed out a little bit. You want to maybe have, you know, from their knees up or something like that, you know, and give them some space on the screen to be able to move a little bit. And then this way you're not going nuts switching cameras trying to follow them. You know,
The more space you give them, the smaller the image of the person.
yes, but that's again why we have such large screens.
Same thing that you do with a spotlight. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I
Same
mean,
thing that you do with Spot, and you're used to
Essentially,
it for years.
consider this a video spotlight.
That's
The
exactly.
person's the same size.
When you do-
people see them on the stage.
Jerry, you've been doing it for
So-
all these years. You make the spot larger than the person,
I
and you do a
understand.
good job. It's the same thing.
So, but the fact of the matter is, the fact of the matter is, we will have presets that you could set in here for the zoomed in shot.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're confident that they're not going to jolt over to the left, then you can zoom in on them a little bit. And when they do jolt, change to one of your other generalized presets that gives them room to move until they get settled. Then you can zoom in a little bit. You know, you just don't want to live into the close-up shot too much. Okay, so I mean, you have to be very conservative with your close-ups because you know you'll lose them.
Yeah, the reason I was saying, when we saw the ones with the handheld cameras, they were able to follow it a lot easier than this.
That's why I would suggest, you know, maybe in the future getting a handheld camera because it is easier to follow somebody with a handheld camera than it is with a robotic one.
Okay.
Okay, and then you can stay more zoomed in because as they move, you can kind of move with them a little easier.
And also, you're not locked into using the presets. You can go
You're
to
not.
a live camera.
Right, and so the other thing is, the other thing that the presets are going to be very good for is getting you in a good starting position to which you can tweak from. So you could tell, oh, okay, well, they're standing fairly close to the center of the stage. Let me hit the center stage preset and then move it a little to the left, rather than having to just do that from scratch. You know, so it's kind of like a cheater. It's kind of like hitting, you know, control copy, control paste on your computer and then changing the one word
Right.
or putting an S at the end of one of those long, complicated words that you don't want to have to spell again. You know, so that's kind of what it is. It's as you go with what you already have preset and then make your minor adjustments. That's where I would say, you know, flavor it to taste at that point, you know, and do what's right for that particular event. Because, you know, hey, maybe that singer just has a tendency to stand off to the left and not quite in the center every time. But they're still close, just not.
And conversely, if you have a play and someone's like sitting in a chair and is going to sing a solo,
Right.
you can get real close because
yeah.
we know she's not going to move, and you
Right,
really
because
want
they're
to have
sitting
that
in a
dramatic
chair
thing.
and
Right.
they're kind of confined to
Right.
that space until they decide to get up. And when they decide to get up, switch cameras.
Right, exactly. To a
You know,
broad shot.
so that's basically the way of doing that. That being said, you also have this section between the buses and the joystick, which is your transition section, we'll call that, okay? Here is where you can go ahead and use transitional effects to change between camera 1 and camera 2 or whatever your preview and program happen to be. Okay, you can always come up to the program bus and select which camera you want to go out, and that will just do what's called a cut straight to that camera. It'll just, you know, cut directly to it with no effects whatsoever. You can also do that by selecting cut right here in this transition section, and then when you hit the take button, it instantly cuts between and it'll swap your preview and program. So it'll take whatever was queued up on the preview screen and send it to program, and vice versa. It'll take program and bring it back to the preview. Okay, so cut does the same thing as if you were actually just going directly to that button. Now you have this first button here that says mix/FTB. Okay, FTB stands for fade to black, by the way. Okay, we'll go over that section, that feature in a minute. However, we're going to stick to mix. Mix is very nice and probably extremely useful during your shows, because instead of being a harsh cut to the next camera, when you hit it, it will fade to the next image. So if you actually look at the side screens, when I hit this button, you will see a nice transition between images. Okay. You have a knob right above that mix button, which is your transition speed, and it can vary anywhere from 0.01 seconds to 4 seconds. Okay, so if I go and I crank that all the way clockwise to 4 seconds and I hit the take button, you will see that is a very slow transition between images. Okay, and that's when you want to get all artsy-fartsy with your camera switching, okay, which is very nice, actually. So let's put that back to 12 o'clock, which is about 2 seconds, approximately. That's mainly your general transition time would be a 2-second fade. So that's fading from one image to the other. On the right side of this section, you'll see the word wipe, okay. Wipes are fun because it literally gives an animation to the screen. So right now, if I go and I hit this take button, you see the image wipes from left to right. Okay. Now, if I want to make that image wipe from right to left, I would select that in the wipe pattern section above that. So as you can see, when you look at that wipe button, you have a blue line that leads your finger up to the wipe patterns section. Okay, and this patterns section gives you a choice of where is your wipe going to come from. Is it going to come from the left, the right, the top, the bottom, the corner, or if you want it to come straight out of the center. So I can say select the center, and when I hit take, the image comes from the center out. Okay, if I hit from the top and I hit take, it wipes downward. You know, so again, this is where you get to be creative with your camera system. Let's slow it down really slow to the 4 seconds, and now it's going to take 4 seconds for that transition to happen.
Can I suggest that less is more when it comes to all these wipes and everything else there?
That is a very good suggestion.
Okay.
But I'm letting you know the capabilities that you have. I think, if anything, if you were going to use the wipe, it might come in more handy when switching to footage from the cable box or any other video presentation stuff, so we can have the presentation wipe from the bottom up to the top.
Right.
You know, that's probably more so where you'd want to use that.
Shows, you know.
Not so much for shows, no. I mean, you know, every now and then maybe, but it's not really necessary. Unless you really want to do, like, if we go from the center, maybe we could do like a rock and roll effect and just, oh wait, that was too quick. Just keep hitting the button and switching between cameras.
Oh, they're gonna get so dizzy. Oh gosh, I
have to hand out air sick bags.
Oh
with
no.
No.
Let's go slow on this when we first are initiating
Exactly.
them.
So we're not going to do that. Exactly.
That's
so
great.
anyways, that is what your transition section is capable of doing for you. Okay, now between our transition section and our buses, we have these other two buttons here that say LSG and PIP. Okay, LSG stands for lower screen graphics. Okay, lower screen graphics come in handy if you wanted to, say, put somebody's name up on the screen as they're speaking. However, there's a compromise in using any of these buttons. It takes away your preview screen. Okay, so your lower screen graphics comes from whatever is queued up on the preview bus, and it locks up the preview bus when you have it engaged. So if I were to go and engage lower screen graphics right now, I have the cable box on the preview bus, which is perfect because it's telling us that Tony Orlando is playing right now. And we obviously have the image of the room on the program bus. So if I hit LSG, we now see, you know, that the song is playing.
That's cute.
And it's from the best of Tony Orlando, you know, and Dawn. So
if we were to use that, we would create like photos, which would just have the bottom with the preset names.
So, like,
and things
say
of that
maybe
nature.
during a board meeting,
Right.
if you wanted to have, you know, a photo that really just takes up the lower portion of the screen,
Right.
with people's names and their position on the board, you know, then you could generate the lower screen graphics and pull up those images as those people are speaking. You know, say April is speaking and you want to put April, you know, PM on there, then you can put, you know, April's name and her position with a little Valencia Isles logo in the corner, you know, and get extra fancy with it. Or you can leave, you know, say the time
Put it all the way at the bottom.
at the bottom there. But again, realize that takes away your preview bus. So now I can't select anything else on preview because it is engaged as a lower screen graphic.
Right.
And until I disengage that lower screen graphic, I do not get my preview bus back at all. However, you do still have your preview images up here anyway, so you're not losing a lot. You're just losing the ability to put it in this section.
And if you hit one of those other previews, that lower screen graphic will go with that new preview that you just hit?
No, it's locked.
It's just locked on that one
Until you
agenda.
turn
Okay.
off lower screen
gotcha.
graphics, it is locked on that input. You know, so then at that point you lose all your transition effects. You don't get any of those, but you can still change what camera you're showing, you know, via the program bus buttons.
Right.
You know, but you have to do that directly from here. We can change also the lower screen graphic size, because again, if we follow the color that is going through the button, you go up and over to this lower screen graphics section, okay? Here we can change the size of that lower screen graphic. So as I hit the button, I might have to hold the button. Okay, I hold the button, it disappears.
There it goes.
It
It made
changed
it
up.
smaller so
So-
that you see the entire.
Right, so now that actually made the lower screen graphic a little bit
Show
bigger,
up.
which is great because in this instance we
Oh.
can see all the artist information with the logo. If I hold it down again, now it comes back even bigger.
Got it.
I hold it down again,
All the way.
it takes over the entire screen, which is not really a lower screen graphic at that point. Or that's the smallest setting there. I usually set it to that one there, which is, you know, perfect for what the cable box is playing. So I don't know how often you would use that, but there it is.
Not too much.
Right. We can also change the transparency level of it. So if we still want to kind of be able to see through it a little bit, you have this button up here, which changes the transparency of that lower screen graphic. So now, if you look at the side screens up there, you can see that you still see the chair aisle cutting through that lower screen graphic. I can make it even more transparent, and even more transparent. And now you can barely see what the lower screen graphic is at all. It's kind of a ghostly image. Now, I guess if you wanted to fill the whole screen with that, that's how you'd be able to do a real overlay over the entire image.
Ooh, annual meeting stuff.
That is 100% up to your discretion.
Yeah, I know. Let's just work it
am not going
first.
to make any suggestions on that one. And I say let's keep it
Simple.
100%, okay, not transparent at all, and go back to that size there. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off lower screen graphics, and I get my preview bus back. Yay, I now have my previews back, and I can do transitions. Hooray.